On August 9th, 2014, in Ferguson, Missouri, Michael Brown was shot to death by Officer Darren Wilson of the Ferguson Police Department. Now, many of you know the details on this event, so I'm not going to go too deep into it right now. I've actually written a full report on this for benswan.com, which we will put in the link under the video if you want to go deeper into this. We also have a full playlist of videos on our channel. We'll link that right here or somewhere. But what I want to talk about tonight, beyond the specifics of what happened and whether or not Darren Wilson should be charged, whether or not Mike Brown was a thug, and the specifics on the case, I'd like to go into one of my thoughts in closing after spending 5 days in Ferguson and interviewing family members, interviewing neighbors, interviewing community members, interviewing the cops, and even the supporters of the officer, and my take on why it's important to have a philosophical understanding of what you mean when you say the whole damn system's guilty as hell, or down with the system, or fuck the police, or end capitalism, or even end the state. Because in my experience, not only in Ferguson, but definitely the past few days, and listening to the chants and watching people in the community come out to the streets out of anger and mistrust and really just being sick of having to deal with violence against their community, I see a lot of good people who are striving to make efforts to change their community, to change what they see. They say down with capitalism, down with the system, down with the police force and the state. But at the same time, I wonder, and I asked some of these people, what do they mean exactly when they say that these words, this rhetoric, which, to be honest, these days, revolution rhetoric is sold like t-shirts. It's just another fad. It's another movement for some people to get into while they're maybe in the rebellious period in life. But for others of us, we're seriously looking to overthrow the government, and to do this in a philosophical way of changing the hearts and minds to create an evolution of humanity so that we can move past the state and move towards something better, even move past the police as we know them in their current form. But not everybody is on that level. Now, that doesn't mean that we are better than them in any way, and I'm going to be a collectivist here. We, those of us who have a philosophical understanding, even if that doesn't mean agorist, libertarianism, anarcho-capitalist, or anything like that, whatever your ideas, if you have a philosophical understanding of what type of revolution you want, then I commend you for that, because I will say there are lots of good people who go out to the streets and they really don't know what they want different. They know that, yeah, cop violence is bad, and I wish that I had more of a say in the way things went, and that people taking bribes from corporations is not good, and damaging the environment, and lying to people, all these things, they're bad, but they don't understand why these things happen, how we can stop them. And so in their efforts to seek change almost blindly, they can get caught up in a whirlwind of false revolution. Now, we've seen this happen in other countries, the Egyptian revolution, these color revolutions are what they're called. If you don't know that term, please look it up. Look up some articles by Brandon Turbeville, who's done some great work on color revolutions. But essentially, it's a false flag revolution. Now, that doesn't mean that all the people on the ground in Egypt and these other places are a part of it. No, there's people, good people, as I'm talking about here in Ferguson in the United States, that want change and see the corruption, see the problems, but they are not the ones who are leading and guiding that. Other people can step up to the plate and guide you in a way that may seem like it's good for you, but actually will serve the interests of the ruling class once again. And I only see this happening, though, if people aren't guided by their principles and deeply rooted in them and have a philosophical understanding of what you want. So let me give you an example of what I want when I say I want a revolution. I would like to put an end to state violence. I would like to put an end to police violence. I would like to put an end to an institution coming into a geographical area and making decisions for other people without their consent. I would like to put an end to this holding a gun to people's heads in order to affect change. Now, specifically on that, all those problems, as far as I'm concerned, can be traced back to the government. And you say corporations play a role in this, and I say corporations do play a role in this, but you have to understand that corporations are given their power, and the very entity of corporations was created by a government itself. So, some people say you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater if you say, well, then just get rid of the whole government. Well, I say you're moving too slow. you can take your steps progressively towards eroding the violence that the police inflict, backed by the state's power. And you can vote to eliminate some of the corruption in your local community, because by all means, if you're going to vote, I'd say focus your energy on local level, maybe even state sometimes, but for the most part, 100%, I'd say 100%, you are wasting your time and energy trying to vote on the federal level, because they don't care what you say, they're going to do whatever they want. Sometimes local politicians do the same thing, but I've seen some good work happen in the community by voting local. So if you're going to do that, stick locally. But for the most part, you're still just incrementally working against this institution, this gigantic machine that survives off of war and violence and lying. I mean, that's how it sustains itself. It cannot exist by being honest and open. And what the conscious resistance is about, and what I believe anarchy is about being in the light, being transparent and open and honest. And that is the very antithesis to what a government, a state entity is about. They cannot exist transparently, because if they did exist transparently, then the people would not allow the things that they do to continue. Now, maybe in some other, some other society, we might be able to create a government that is transparent and open. Because even in an anarchist society, what we would have is say, 10 individuals, we'll start small, who come together and they say they want to live together. Well, they're going to create ways to interact with each other. That could be seen as a form of government. Maybe one of them is going to focus on watching the animals, and the other is going to focus on the garden, and the other one might do like a night watch to protect their community. So all that collectively is a government. So there will always be some type of governing force and interaction between individuals, but it doesn't have to be this huge overarching federal, state, and state government that we see. It can be something much smaller and much more responsible and respectful to the people, and that's what I'm working for. But governments as we know them now do not do that and cannot do that because of everything that they're involved in. I mean, we talk about secrets behind 9/11. We talk about poisoning the people through ignorance or through purposeful means. We also talk about the people's voices being ignored. I mean, specifically in Ferguson, there's people going up to the cops and yelling, "How do we know we can trust you? How do we know you're going to look out for us?" Because those people don't know, and they feel ignored. They feel pushed aside by their community, and it's gone on for so long that now they've decided they're going to take a chance and actually stand up for themselves. So, in closing on this thought, I just want you to think about this. When you go out to these protests or you go out to meet other people and you hear people saying generic rhetoric, ask them, what do they mean specifically? How do they, what is the change that they're after? What is the end game, the final goal, and how do they plan to get there? And see if they've thought about it. And if not, encourage them to do that. And if you haven't thought about this, whatever your philosophical, political background is, then please do take a moment to think about what your goals are and the methods that you're choosing to get there. Because I promise you, as long as we stay deeply rooted in ourselves and our principles, and we let that guide us, then it's impossible for outside forces to co-opt and to move our revolution, our evolution in a place and in a direction we don't want to go. So think about that and stay rooted in here.